Welcome to The Growth Kit, a podcast where science and actionable advice intersect to help you live a better life.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Growth Kit. In this episode, I am interviewed by Katrina Foe. Katrina is a Board Certified Holistic Nutritionist specializing in Integrative Oncology. Her journey began when she discovered a golf ball-sized lump in her breast while nursing her fifth child. Refusing to succumb to the conventional oncologist roadmap of chemotherapy, radiation, and invasive procedures, Katrina created Cancer Freedom. Her mission is to help women prevent and overcome cancer 100% naturally, guided by functional medicine and holistic nutrition. In this episode, we discuss the ways we can minimize our toxic load and heal our bodies. We discuss the toxic products most people are overlooking, the common toxins in toiletries, makeups, and in the kitchen, and the best alternatives for these, tips to make these changes towards a less toxic life, and why I wrote a book on non-toxic living. Enjoy.
All right, Brian, it is exciting to talk with you. The things that we're going to talk about today are probably some of my favorite subjects and the things that I have had the most frustrations and wins in my own life of figuring out. So I know that this is usually, as a clinician, what I get the most questions over. So if that wasn't enough, we're going to get into some stuff today. Brian, would you please tell us a little bit about yourself and what ignited your passion for clean living?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me and inviting me on this interview. So my passion for this clean, non-toxic living wasn't let's say it wasn't very linear, but I grew up in a family where my mom had one foot in the Western world as a nurse and another in what we would now call more of a functional medicine and natural world. So I adopted a lot of those practices. When we were going to the doctors, it was that tingly mom internal instinct saying, I don't feel so right about this. We were raised on home-cooked meals and playing in the dirt and homeopathic medicine and avoiding the weed killers and going organic. So I had that from the beginning. But it was also her background as a journalist before she was a nurse that I inherited a lot of as well. I was just always asking why we're doing this. And then it was in high school where that health instinct really kicked in too. I went to a high school with a really good rowing program. So all 4 years, about like 8 or 9 months of the year, it's a long season. It was you competing against someone else to get a spot in that boat. So you were constantly rowing next to this person, seeing their numbers, and there's only so much you could do to change anything except yourself. So it was a constant experiment with yourself. That's where the nutrition and the sleep, the kind of the low-hanging fruit really really kicked in and clicked for me. And from there, after rowing, I had to fill that void. So I went to racing, and from marathons to trail races to stair climbs to bike-a-thons and tons of triathlons, I was always doing the experiments on myself. And that's really where the non-toxic living kind of aspect really came in. I saw how organic foods and air quality and sunlight and the supplementation and things like that really factored into my training. And as I dialed that in, I was getting faster and doing better in terms of placing within my age group as I get older. So it was probably around 2019 when the true dive went, when I went deep with this dive, when I had my first child, my son, and I learned in OT school that these kids are sensitive from neonates to newborns to children. All these things really, really, really can have an impact on them. And most of the time we're pretty blind to it. He had some health issues with RSV and things like that. A lot of ER visits early on, which was scary. So from there, we dialed it in. We went full bore, and we saw the results. And it was with our second child, my daughter, where I launched My Body Dad and tried to get the word out. Because I would tell my patients, I would tell my family, my friends, and everyone was aware that, yes, that's a healthier way to live. But there was just so much misinformation, so many questions of where do I even start, that I knew there was a better way to get the information out. So that's where, long story short, that's how I came to where I am right now.
Oh, I love it. And I I mean, I think that's just the case with so many practitioners and people that are passionate about this work. It's there's a story there. There are things that happened that yeah, really inspired us to get into this because, we may all know that there's better things out there, but until you've got enough pain points, it's not motivating enough to spend the extra money, right? And do the extra research. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so what area do you see people missing the most in terms of toxic products in their life?
I think that the main things are some of the more obvious. So the first one I would say is plastics. Plastics are these incredible things that we probably couldn't live without nowadays, but they are, because they're everywhere, that means their ubiquitous nature means that there's a lot of concerns. And if we grew up and we evolved with them, it'd be a different story, but we didn't. So it's the little things like the plastic water bottle people are drinking out of, the K-cups, the straws, even the disposable coffee cups have plastic lining in them, so it's not burning and leaking out. The Tupperware, the frozen meals that you're eating at lunch, things like that. That would be the number one. Those, especially when they're heated, especially when they're scratched, these chemicals, these endocrine disruptors like BPA and phthalates and styrene and formaldehyde, they're coming out. They're leaching from these plastics, and we're absorbing them. We're either eating them, or they're going through our skin, or we're inhaling them. And there's fortunately so many things you can do about that now, so many better alternatives. But that is what I would say is number one. Number two, I would say, is water. So obviously we're made up of it, we need it, but they're relying on the filtration system within our municipalities. Can never say that word. It's not the best approach. About 50% of us are getting PFAS, which are those everywhere chemicals, through the water system. So the first thing you should do is, one, just for the awareness, is look up exactly how many chemicals are in your water system. I did this in my water system where I live now, and I found that the highest amount of chemicals are these cancer-causing chemicals. TTHMS, HAAS, HAA9. They have up to, one of the HAA9 has 542 times the safe amount in my water system. So as soon as we moved in this house, we got a RO, or reverse osmosis water filtration system. This filters out up to or over 80 of the contaminants often found in water. The pictures are good, but they're not going to get everything out, from the viruses to the dissolvable solids to the bacteria to the heavy metals. So the RO water filter system's the kind of the cream of the crop when you're going down the route of non-toxic living.
Yeah, and those pictures are made out of what?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
That's the part that kills me, because when you start going down these rabbit holes, it's like, okay, and then, what are the pipes that bring us our water made out of? It's like, you can go down this pretty crazy far. So while we go through this, I want everyone to keep in mind good, better, best. We're talking about perfection here, and it's not going to be perfect in a day. But, when you're talking about cancer, you got to get it pretty zoomed in. So you heard him talking about those specific chemicals. I'm not going to try to get all the acronyms. But you can look on your tests and see which ones are showing up for you, as well as what Brian's talking about looking at your water and seeing what's in there. So both ways are really important to see what you're actually sucking in there. Okay. Can you talk to us a little bit about the toxins in our toiletries? Because this is so hard. You look at the back of the labels, and you can't understand what any of them are. What do we do about that? What are the problems there?
Yeah, you're right. When you look at those that ingredients list, it's like flashbacks to chemistry class back in the day in high school. But yeah, if you're going, I like to go room by room. So if you're going room by room in the house, the bathroom's a great one to start with, because there are just so many opportunities. So in discussing toiletries, mouthwash is number one for me. So it's less so because of necessarily the chemicals, although they're in there, but it's actually the alcohol. So that tingling that people love in their mouth, that's actually been linked to a lot of concerns from head and neck cancers to diabetes to even, paradoxically, I guess, reducing the benefits of exercise if you mouthwash after exercise. So what you want to look for is a mouthwash that doesn't have alcohol, that doesn't have fluoride, sulfates, artificial sweeteners, dyes. All those are in that like bright green mouthwash container on a lot of people's sinks.
Okay, wait.
Next, go ahead.
I have a follow-up question. So in terms of the reducing the benefits after exercise, so does that have to do with the nitric oxide levels, or is that something else?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so it inhibits the nitrous oxide production when you're doing that, because a lot of that formation is actually in the back of the tongue. Yes. When it comes to the we're obviously learning still a lot more about the microbiome, but there's something called the oral microbiome. So when you're mouthwashing, that alcohol is actually killing all that beneficial bacteria in our mouth, going down to our gut, and then obviously affecting us from a systemic standpoint.
Yeah, that's really huge. That oral microbiome, and then even like the nasal passages. Clearly, the mouthwash shouldn't go up there, but like those are really, really key and important.
Exactly. The next I would say is probably the next most commonly used things in the bathroom are the shampoos, the conditioners, the body wash, the soaps. So lots of opportunities for chemicals in here. So the fragrances, the artificial colors, the formaldehydes, the phthalates. So all of these are opportunities for chemicals. And like fortunately, 2024, maybe not 30 years ago, but there are so many alternatives to these chemicals. And that's actually one of the reasons I started my blog and I wrote a book on non-toxic living, is because we kind of know what to avoid, we kind of know what to look for, but all this gets muddled and even furthermore with marketing. So there are so many links that I provided in a book I wrote and on my blog to make it just easier for someone to look for better alternatives. The toothpaste is another one. So in our house, we don't have any fluoride, and this was really confusing to me for a while. So we go fluoride free. The toothpaste, it's mostly a concern for if there's going to be any ingestion, and hopefully you're not ingesting it. But we really went full bore on this when we had kids, and they were learning how to brush their teeth. And even with the training toothpaste, or especially with the training toothpaste, where there's a risk of swallowing, we said no, and then we just cut out all fluoride altogether. It's been linked to lower IQ scores, it's been linked to bone fractures and even tooth damage, ironically. So while it has been shown to improve tooth health and then potentially the whiteness, all these other risks just weren't worth it. Wow. And then another one is deodorant. So when it comes to non-toxic living, the one way to detox or detoxify all your body naturally is sweating. And a lot of these deodorants use aluminum, which literally plugs the pores in your body and prevents this sweating. So not only are you absorbing some of the toxins in the deodorants, but you're preventing them from coming out. So choosing a deodorant that's not the aerosol spray, but the rub-on is really important too, because the aerosol spray can have benzene in it, which is also a known carcinogen.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. And the deodorant is so key, especially since with cancers, the breast cancer, we've got, the lymph area right next to there trying to detox out through those pores. It's so important to keep all that structure that's there to help us detoxify, keeping it working. I can't emphasize that enough. So important. Okay, so Brian, I am guessing you don't use much makeup.
I do not.
But can you talk a little bit about the toxins that are in there?
Yeah, absolutely. So while there are so many benefits of living in the U.S., one that is not a benefit, the way I look at it, is that we have such a little restriction on the chemicals in our really our products in general, but especially our cosmetics. So, for example, in Europe, the EU, they have banned over 1,300 chemicals in their cosmetics. The US, on the other hand, has banned 9 since 1938. So there's so little regulation, which means there's such an onus on us, on the consumer, to do our due diligence and to be able to look for those chemicals in the products, so we don't have the health effects. Two things I recommend are to download one of the 3 apps. So it's either the Healthy Living or EWG app, Yuka, Y-U-K-A, and Think Dirty. Those are my 3 favorite apps that I recommend to people for cosmetics. They have the barcode scanners on there, so as you're walking along those brightly lit, beautiful aisles in the store, you can actually just turn that product over, scan it, and it will tell you, depending on the app, it'll tell you worth it and verified by this company or not worth it. These are the harmful chemicals. This is red. This is what to avoid. So that's what I found to be the most user friendly, because when you're out in the store, they're there. What do you look for? So many ingredients. Just scan it. And there are also some retailers that have done a lot of work to help separate the harmful ones and then the clean or least toxic of these cosmetics. So Beauty Heroes and Credo Beauty are 2 of my go-to cosmetic retailers for recommendations. But within them, you still have to be careful. They don't rule out everything, and clean and all natural is still a not necessarily an objective term. So be careful what you're getting, but those are some safe ones to start with. And then under that, there are some brands I recommend, such as Safe and Chic. There's Tower 28 and Good Molecules are a few of them.
Oh, that's so interesting, because I don't think I've heard of any of those. I love the fact that there are so many cosmetics and different companies out there now. It's just like blowing up with new choices. Can we circle back on something you said, though, about the way the marketing is? I just want to mention and touch on this because there's so much green marketing now, and it makes it so difficult. Could you talk about that a little bit? Because I find that it's very confusing when they use certain words that sound like it's good, but then if you don't have like a PhD in, chemistry, it makes it very difficult. So I love the practical like aspects, but what are your thoughts on the green marketing?
Yeah, that's a great point. And so it's called, one term it's called is greenwashing. So when a lot of these products say, we have this, or we don't have this, or this is all natural, or this is some other non-verified term, it is a great way to market to that person. This is maybe a better alternative, but there's either a lot of fluff or misinformation behind that. And it can be very misleading. So you have to be really careful. There are certain labels that are, depending on kind of what you're talking about, whether it's food, whether it's personal care products, whether it's a car or furniture, there's different certifications for each of these, but you have to be really careful. You have to do some research. And I try to put that in my book, try to find what these high-level certifications are, because it takes effort from these companies to put money into and time into the certification process. And that's one of the ways you know that this company is doing their due diligence. Along those lines, yeah, they're the all natural, what are some other ones? The all natural or green or even less dirty. Like you're gonna go to the supermarket and you're not gonna see these labels on a stalk of broccoli, but you will see it on anything with the packaging on it. So just be really careful as you're doing your shopping.
Yeah, I love that. My favorite is the aspect where like they'll say like BPA free, but just getting the BPA out doesn't mean they didn't use another bisphenol. And it doesn't mean there's not phthalates or any other kinds of things in it, which it just kind of gives the insinuation that it's better and that it's healthy. Because you've heard BPA is bad, so people are like gravitate towards that. So just being good consumers, smart consumers, I think is really important. And I love that your book makes it so much easier for us to do that.
And that sorry to go back to that. That's a great point for going back to the food, because I feel like food's easiest to relate to. But if you see like a can of seltzer, it's just water. Oftentimes you'll see like sodium free and gluten free and sugar free. Well, of course, but obviously marketers have realized that the more they put on that label, the healthier it looks to the consumer.
Yes. I actually, my kid's favorite is when the eggs say like vegetarian fed. I'm like, my kids get all pissy. They're like, these aren't vegetarians. I'm like, I know. A little different there, but okay, let's go into the kitchen now. So what do we need to clean up there besides
Yeah.
the food in general?
Yeah, so aside from the food, which is a whole other topic, where I like to start is the non-stick cookware. So non-stick is such a great invention, but it is so unhealthy. If there were no health effects to us humans, it'd be great and everyone should use it, but no one should use it. So that's non-stick chemicals are leaching into your food, especially when they're being heated. That will go in your body, and that has many, many, many downstream effects. So the three best alternatives to this non-stick cookware is ceramic, but even then you got to be a little careful with the brand. Ceramic, stainless steel, and then cast iron. Those are my three go-tos for non-toxic pans, pots, and any cookware.
So I'm going to interrupt right there. Just for those listening with cancer, you want to be very, very careful. We usually don't recommend the cast iron. Cast iron is awesome for most people, but with cancer, usually the ferritin's very high in that anemia chronic disease. So we want to be very careful and stay away from that. But yeah, the stainless steel is fantastic. Be careful on the ceramic. I also like glass for a lot of things if you don't have people dropping things a lot. But yeah, I think stainless steel, I have like even stainless steel plates just because it's so hard to get, plates that don't have lead in the paint and stuff like that. It's so tricky. So I'm sorry. You go ahead.
No, those are good points. So the next in the kitchen I would go to is the plastic storage containers. So whether you're eating at home, whether you're taking your lunch to work, removing that like classic Tupperware and replacing it, like you said, with glass is going to be just a really, really, really easy go-to. Like I was saying, heat and scratching really augment how many of these chemicals are getting into your food. And it kills me when people put their just like plastic Tupperware right into the microwave, or their disposable coffee cup, or their whatever it is, their frozen meals right into the microwave. At the very least, take that food out or their liquid out and then put it into a container that's glass and then heat it. And then if you want, you can put it back in, but ideally keep it away from plastics at all costs.
Yeah, we'll just kill the microwaves altogether.
Yeah, and the microwave is general. That's true. Go stovetop.
Our toaster ovens get great too for some of that stuff.
It's true. Another thing is, I know I talked a little bit about this from a plastic standpoint, but the cutting boards, the utensils, even the classic whisk and the spatula, that material is made of nylon. And there's this chemical that can leach out when, again, it's scratched or it's being used in a heated environment, which many of these are. And that can leach out into your food and then cause these downstream effects like the systemic cancer-related issues, to high cholesterol, to kidney dysfunction. So swapping that out for other uses or other materials such as like bamboo or wood.
It's just insane how much plastics, how just ubiquitous everywhere they are.
It's incredible. Yeah, they're cheaper, they're so available, they're convenient, they're more flexible, but they're killing us. They're just not good for us. But fortunately, there are so many alternatives out there.
Yeah. Okay. That's a lot of stuff. Seriously, there's so many things in the kitchen and the bathroom alone. Are there other areas that need to be upgraded in our homes?
Yeah, some other areas, and I can kind of segue this from the kitchen, are the air quality. So oftentimes, the EPA actually says that inside our homes can be up to 2 to 5 times more polluted than outside, which I was blown away with when I heard that. And one of the reasons is the cooking. So part of that is cooking with nonstick cookware. So remove that. The other thing is just cooking in general. So the food, the liquids are gonna release some chemicals, some toxins into the environment. So using the ventilation system, I know it's gonna be a little noisier and that's annoying. Opening windows, opening the doors, all this, and then circulating with fans is gonna be really important. In terms of the humidity, that's going to be important to prevent any mold growth. So you want to make sure depending on where you live and the climate and the seasons, you want to have humidity around like 30 to 50%. definitely under 60%. So dehumidifier if needed. We have one here in the basement, or humidifier in the wintertime, especially if you have kids in their bedrooms. We also have 2 air purifiers. So I was talking about my son who had RSV and he has asthma. So we have one upstairs for the kids, and then we have one downstairs, and that's just constantly on and humming along in the background. And that's great. All throughout the year, we pretty much have that unless the windows are open. But that helped us this past, was it maybe a year ago, when we had wildfire smoke come down. The smoke came down from Canada, and we were one of the few houses in the area that was not like going online last minute and looking for that air filter. And those are the times when people really freak out and realize they need them. But really, this air quality is kind of one of those lingering things in the background that affects everything we do. So also along those lines are the cleaning. So limiting how much you're actually sweeping, which is weird to say. Some people will say like ban the broom. You want to have a vacuum that has a HEPA filter in it. That's going to be really important, even if it's a robot vacuum, looking for the HEPA filter kinds. And then using microfiber cloth, and then cleaning products that don't just the bare minimum. The water and soap is all you need. You don't need any of those heavy duty chemically based cleaning products. The ventilation I talked about, limiting the indoor pollution. Those are the main ones. Another one along those lines is along air quality lines is fragrances. So fragrances are I feel like they're just, you go in someone's house, they've got them. Non-essential oil-based fragrance. They have the plug-in ones. They have that tree hanging from the mirror in the car. They are terrible. They kill me. So, and I'm not even like highly sensitive, but the more I've seen them, the more I feel like maybe it's psychosomatic, but I've reacted. I know that they're bad. I avoid them. They create these, or they release these VOCs. So they're the chemicals in the air that you're inhaling. You're actually ingesting them transdermally as well. So you want to look for either low VOC or zero VOC products and paints and finishers and things like that. If you're doing any construction or any painting, anything synthetic in terms of fragrance, you definitely want to avoid. Been linked to cancer and headaches and asthma and hormonal disruptions. But even if the tricky thing is, the easy alternative is essential oil. So going for essential oil diffuser and put it in your sprays. But even that, you want to be careful with the essential oils and what products you use, because even some of them are becoming a little more synthetic and not truly essential oils. Be very careful with what you're researching.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. That's fantastic. Okay, so do you have any tips, tricks, ways that people can start to make these shifts? Because, I mean, for some people, they're like, they've written this all down and they're doing this yesterday. But a lot of us, it might be a little bit daunting to hear all of this dumped in one video. So how would you recommend approaching this transition?
That's a great question. So behavior science, I heard once, behavior science is not rocket science, it's tougher. So that carryover it's going to be unique to each person, but consistency is going to be key. So there are 2 types of people I found. There are people that go all in all at once, and people that do it gradually. So I'm more of an all-in kind of person, although I have my moments with the gradual aspect. So if you're someone who was recently diagnosed with cancer, who lives with someone who is, or is having any of these common symptoms of these toxic based symptoms, then I would say go all in. If that's your personality and you feel like you can do it and you feel like it's going to help you, go for it. You don't have to necessarily throw out your coffee maker and every plate you have and every pan you have and get 3 air filters in your house. But if your goal is to reduce these toxins, know what to expect. Know when that coffee maker breaks, this is the one I'm going to get. You also have to realize that there's no perfection here. These toxins are everywhere. You're not going to avoid them, and if you try to avoid them, you're going to fail, and that's going to not set you up for success. So realize that you just need to do the best you can. This is not your fault. Also, these chemicals in our environment, this is just where we are in 2024. Some people like to use the 80-20 principle. You can do that if that makes it more manageable or reasonable, where you're going at least 80% in to get rid of as many of these toxins as possible. And the other thing people like to do is just go category by category. So sometimes I'll recommend room to room, or so start with the bathroom, go into the kitchen, and this could be a month-long or a many month-long project to slowly get rid of that last tube of toothpaste, replace it with this, and going through that route.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that makes it much more doable. And I'll just throw out, if you've already done your testing, you can see like, hey, this was really high for me. Let's start focused on that. So that's kind of a different spin on what Brian was saying in terms of category. It's a different category. So if like parabens are your thing, look what you have with parabens and focus on that. Oh, this has been really good. So hopefully this just gives everyone an overview of like all the basic things to look at. And I love the room to room approach because that's kind of how I look at it as well. And just, if it's overwhelming you, kind of set it aside. You can come back to it. Don't worry. It's not going anywhere. Brian, do you have any last thoughts or anything that is important that maybe we missed so far?
In terms of anything we miss, I think starting with that low-hanging fruit, I think that's going to be the most important. That's why I've noticed has the best carryover. So those cleaning products, the nonstick cookware, the toothpaste tube, the air quality, all that little stuff. I've realized this many times, that you can just go down a rabbit hole and get deeper and deeper and deeper. And I'm not saying that everyone should live off the grid and be camping in the middle of nowhere, but that's where it can lead you. So remember that you just need to do the best you can. It's not going to be perfect, but you can manage a lot by managing a little bit.
Oh, beautiful. So how else can people connect with you, get this book you mentioned, all that stuff?
Sure. So the best way to connect with me is by subscribing to my newsletter. It's at mindbodydad.com. And every week I'll send updates on these topics, but also other topics related to mind, body, and dad categories. My book is available on my site, and it's also available on Amazon. It's the Non-Toxic Living Guidebook. And you can, for anyone who's listening to this now, I just set up a discount code. So if you type in Cancer Freedom, when you get my book on my site, that'll be 20% off. So that book will have on my site, that'll have all the links to all these alternative options. You don't have to go with any of those options I put in there, but also breaks down by different areas of the home, babies, the car, toiletries, what to avoid, what to look for, and then some options. And you can also follow me at mindbodydad on Twitter or X, Facebook, and Instagram.
I love it. Thank you. And the Cancer Freedom Code's all caps, and we'll have that linked below, but this is great. I love the book. It's got so many great things in it, so highly recommend it. And thank you, Brian, for sharing a little more about this, and especially your personal story too. It's been
great. Katrina, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning into the Growth Kit podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. You can check out my website at mindbodydad.com and subscribe for more weekly insights sent to your inbox. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter at mindbodydad. Many of the links I share are affiliate links, which means I earn a small commission if you purchase through them. This doesn't affect the price you pay, but it helps support the podcast. In some cases, I may even be able to provide unique discounts for you. I only recommend products and resources that I genuinely believe in and use myself. My top priority is to provide practical ways to help you live better, and I wouldn't link to anything that doesn't align with that goal. Thanks for your support.